Everyone ignored the CEO's paralyzed daughter at the wedding until a single dad spoke up. The grand ballroom shimmered under crystal chandeliers, gold-trimmed tablecloths, towering floral centerpieces, and the soft hum of a live-string quartet set the tone for what was undoubtedly the society wedding of the year. Tech titan and CEO Marcus Holloway had spared no expense for his only daughter's nuptials. Celebrities, investors, politicians, everyone who was anyone was there, but in the far corner of the room, near the service entrance, sat a quiet figure in a wheelchair, 12-year-old Elise Holloway. Dressed in soft lavender, her dark curls pinned neatly, a small tiara glinting above her brows, a gift from her sister, the bride. Her hands rested gently in her lap, unmoving, her legs still, her eyes bright, observant, alive, scanned the room with a quiet longing. No one approached her. Not the bridesmaids giggling over champagne flutes, not the uncles telling loud jokes by the bar, not even the waitstaff, who skirted around her chair as if she were furniture. Elise had been paralyzed from the waist down since age 6, the result of a rare spinal infection. Her father, consumed by empire building and grief, had quietly tucked her away from public view over the years. For her comfort, he'd say, but comfort, Elise knew, was just another word for invisibility. She didn't cry. She rarely did anymore. She had learned to swallow loneliness like medicine, bitter, but necessary. She watched her sister, radiant in white silk, twirl across the dance floor with her new husband. She watched her father clink glasses with venture capitalists. She watched the world celebrate without her. Then he walked in, late, disheveled, wearing a slightly too big rented tux and holding the hand of a little girl in suspenders, no older than 5, who clutched a stuffed dinosaur like a security blanket. All eyes turned, whispers rippled. Who let him in? Is that the caterer? He's not on the guest list. The man, ruggedly handsome in a weary, single-dad kind of way, scanned the room until his eyes landed on Elise. He didn't hesitate, didn't flinch, didn't look away. He smiled, warm, genuine, and walked straight toward her, his daughter skipping beside him. Gasps followed. A few guests actually recoiled. He stopped in front of Elise's chair and crouched down so he was eye level with her. "Hi," he said softly. "I'm Daniel. This is my daughter, Laura. We're, technically crashing. But Laura really wanted to see the cake. And I saw you sitting here all alone, and I thought no kid should be alone at a wedding." Elise blinked. No one had spoken to her like that, like she mattered in years. Laura, wide-eyed, leaned forward. "Are you a princess?" Elise smiled, a real one, the kind that lit up her whole face. "Sometimes. I'm a T-Rex," Laura declared, roaring softly. Elise giggled. The sound was so rare, so pure, it made Daniel's chest ache. He stood, pulling out the chair beside her. "Mind if we join you?" Laura promised she wouldn't roar too loud. She nodded, still smiling. They sat. Laura chattered about dinosaurs, cake flavors, and her missing front tooth. Daniel listened, laughed, and occasionally glanced at Elise, noticing how her eyes sparkled when Laura made her laugh, how she leaned in when she told a joke. A waiter finally approached, reluctantly, and set down a plate of hors d'oeuvres in front of them. Daniel thanked him. The waiter didn't respond. Then the music swelled. The DJ announced the father-daughter dance. Marcus Holloway took the floor with his eldest daughter, beaming. Cameras flashed. Tears flowed. Elise watched, her hands tightening slightly in her lap. Daniel noticed. He leaned closer. "You ever dance?" She shook her head. "Not since before." He nodded. "You know, dancing doesn't always mean standing up." She looked at him confused. He stood, offered his hand, not to pull her up, but to hold. "May I have this dance, Princess Elise?" Her breath caught. He didn't wait for an answer. He stepped beside her chair, placed one hand gently on her shoulder, the other holding hers, and began to sway, slowly, gently to the music. Right there, in the corner, in front of everyone. Laura clapped. "Dance, Princess Elise, dance!" And something miraculous happened. Elise closed her eyes and swayed back, not with her legs, but with her soul, with her shoulders, with her smile, with the rhythm only she and Daniel seemed to hear. A hush fell over the room. Guests turned. The music still played, but conversations died. Even Marcus paused mid-step, staring at the scene in the corner. Daniel didn't care. He danced with Elise like she was the only person in the world, like she was the guest of honor, like she was worthy of every note, every spotlight, every gaze. And then a single tear rolled down Elise's cheek. Daniel saw it, stopped dancing, crouched again. "What's wrong?" she whispered. "No one's danced with me in 6 years." His throat tightened. He brushed the tear away with his thumb. Then we'll dance every song. And they did. Song after song. Daniel danced beside her chair, sometimes spinning gently around her, sometimes kneeling, holding both her hands, swaying with eyes locked. Laura danced too, sometimes with Elise's chair, sometimes with imaginary dinosaurs, sometimes just beaming up at her dad and the princess. By the third song, a few guests had drifted closer. An elderly woman wiped her eyes. A teenage bridesmaid pulled out her phone and started recording, not to mock, but to capture. By the fifth song, two little flower girls tiptoed over and asked shyly if they could dance too. Daniel grinned. Of course, the more the merrier. Soon a small circle formed around Elise, children mostly, twirling, laughing, including her in their world without pity, without hesitation. And then Marcus Holloway approached. He looked shattered. His tuxedo jacket was off, his bow tie askew, his eyes red. He stopped in front of Daniel. The room held its breath. "Who are you?" Marcus asked, voice hoarse. Daniel stood, still holding Elise's hand. Daniel Reyes, single dad, part-time mechanic, full-time Laura wrangler. He nodded toward his daughter, who was now trying to balance a piece of cake on her dinosaur's head. Marcus looked at Elise, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time in years. "You're smiling." Elise nodded. "Daniel danced with me." Marcus swallowed hard, turned to Daniel. "Why?" Daniel didn't flinch. "Because she was alone. And no kid, especially not one as brave and beautiful as Elise, should ever be alone at a party, or anywhere." Marcus's shoulders slumped. He looked broken, not by anger, by regret. He knelt beside Elise's chair, something he hadn't done since she was 6. "I'm so sorry, baby," he whispered. "I didn't know how to fix it, so I pretended it wasn't there. I buried myself in work, in deals, in this polished—" He gestured to the opulent room. "I thought if I built enough, bought enough, controlled enough, maybe I could undo what happened to you." Elise reached out, slowly, shakily, and placed her small hand on his cheek. "It's okay, Daddy," she whispered. "I'm still here." Marcus broke. Right there, in front of 300 guests, he wept, great, heaving sobs as he held his daughter's hand to his face. The room was silent. No one moved. No one whispered. Then, the bride, Elise's sister, rushed over. She dropped to her knees beside her father and sister, wrapping them both in her arms. "I'm sorry too, Elise," she cried. "I got so caught up in my big day, I forgot to make it yours too." Elise hugged her back with the strength she had. "You look beautiful, Lila." Lila laughed through tears. "Not as beautiful as you, little star." Daniel quietly stepped back, pulling Laura with him. "Come on, buddy, let's go find that cake." But Marcus stood suddenly. "Wait." Daniel turned. Marcus walked over, eyes still wet, voice thick. You saw her, when no one else did. Why?" Daniel shrugged. "I see her because I see Laura, my daughter. She got autism, doesn't speak much, gets overwhelmed in crowds, people stare, whisper, avoid her. I know what it's like to feel invisible in a room full of people." He looked at Elise. "She's not invisible, she's extraordinary." Marcus nodded slowly. Then he did something no one expected. He took the microphone from the DJ. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice trembling but clear, "before we cut the cake, I need to make an announcement." The room stilled. "I've spent 12 years building an empire, but I forgot to build a home. I forgot to see my daughter, truly see her, because I was too afraid of my own failure. But tonight, a stranger, a single dad named Daniel, reminded me what matters." He looked at Daniel. "Thank you." Then he turned to Elise. "And to my brave, beautiful girl, I promise you, from this day forward, you will never sit alone again. Not at a wedding, not at dinner, not in this life. I see you, Elise. I love you, and I'm so proud to be your father." The room erupted in applause. Not polite, not performative, real, raw, tearful. And then Marcus did the unthinkable. He knelt again, slid his arms under Elise, and lifted her, wheelchair and all, into the center of the dance floor. The DJ, catching on, switched the song. "You've Got a Friend in Me." Marcus held her close, swung her gently in her chair, danced with her, really danced, as guests formed a circle around them, clapping, crying, cheering. Daniel watched from the edge, Laura on her shoulders, cake smudged on both their faces. "You made the princess happy, Dad," Laura said. Daniel kissed the top of his daughter's head. "Nah, buddy, she made me remember what matters." The next morning, headlines blazed. Billionaire CEO halts merger, talks to spend time with paralyzed daughter. She's my greatest investment. Wedding crasher becomes hero. Single dad's simple act of kindness goes viral. But the real story wasn't in the headlines. It was in the quiet moments that followed. Marcus hired Daniel, not as an employee, but as a consultant for accessibility and inclusion in all Holloway Industries events. "If anyone knows how to make people feel seen," Marcus said, "it's you." Daniel accepted, on one condition, that Elise be involved in every decision. They became a team. Daniel, Leo, Elise, and eventually Marcus, learning, stumbling, trying. Elise started a YouTube channel, Rolling with Elise, where she reviewed accessible venues, interviewed kids with disabilities, and danced. Yes, danced with her dad, her sister, her new friend Leo, and even Daniel, who still showed up every Friday with dinosaur toys and terrible dad jokes. At her 13th birthday party, held in their backyard, not a ballroom, Elise made a wish as she blew out her candles. "What did you wish for?" Daniel asked. She grinned. "Can't tell, but it already came true." She didn't need to say it. She was seen. She was loved. She was no longer alone. And sometimes, all it takes is one person, one single dad with a dinosaur-obsessed little girl, to change everything. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness rewrite the biggest stories. And remember, no one should ever sit alone. Not at a wedding. Not anywhere. Thanks for watching.